Winston Peters has long fought for the rights of superannuitants, but now he has his own pension battle on his hands after revealing he's been overpaid for several years because he was receiving the single person's rate when he had a de facto partner. He's not quite sure how it happened or whose fault it was, he told us. The New Zealand First Leader found out last month and gave the money back within 24 hours, but he's refusing to give a privacy waiver, enabling the ministry to discuss any details of the overpayment, a situation that one of his political opponents, and that is salient, described as a debacle. Here's our political editor, Jane Patterson.
Winston Peters told Checkpoint he did not request a breakdown of the overpayment, just the total amount required to clear the debt. He says that could have included interest and or penalty payments. But Mr Peters says neither he nor the Ministry of Social Development could figure out which party had made the mistake and how he ended up on the single person's pension.
I turned up and made an application with my partner, but a very senior person at MSD, and they gave me advice as to what I'd get. I'm not the absolute expert on these sorts of things, but I thought it was about right because it looked much lower than the standard.
The National Party leader Bill English says any questions about the detail of what happened are up to Mr Peters to answer.
Because this is about his personal finances and his personal circumstances. Clearly there's questions there. And I think there's a lot of people going to be asking him, but it's up to him to deal with that.
Bill English wouldn't make any judgments about working with Mr Peters after the election.
You have to see what the facts of the matter are. Mr Peters believes it's a matter that's settled, that MSD think it's a matter that's settled. So if there's more questions to be answered, they'll get answered, and we just have to see how the facts unfold.
The Labour leader Jacinda Ardern is taking a similar approach.
Look, I think it would be helpful if we had more information, but still ultimately this is an issue for Mr Peters to be answering questions on, not the Labour Party.
But the ACT leader David Seymour says Winston Peters has found himself in a messy situation.
Look, it's a debacle and there's a lot more to come, because with Winston Peters there's always more and it's always worse than he initially makes out. I would just wish that he'd put the papers out and prove that it really is a simple administrative error.
The leader of the Opportunities Party, Gareth Morgan, says Mr Peters' situation just highlights bigger problems with the system.
Full credit to Winston Peters for paying back the extra money he received from the taxpayer. But doesn't the fact that he didn't even notice he was getting, paid, just tell us how broken our benefit system is? You've got benefits here going to people who don't need them.
The Ministry of Social Development says it holds a great deal of very personal information it's not in a position to share. It says it's been in touch with Mr Peters and the matter's been resolved to its satisfaction. For Checkpoint, Jane Patterson.